Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome, wonderful people of Biafra. So, Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of Biafra Republic Government in Exile, made a statement on this space that was hosted some days ago. And some people did not really, agree with his statement. He was actually talking about who a prime minister is and what are the duties of a prime minister, and that a prime minister is not the head of a nation. Whereas some of these fools came online to say that the prime minister is a governmental head of a nation, and we are here to demystify the mystery behind these things and to tell you who is right and wrong, so that we will quash this whole rubbish going on the internet space. Let us take a listen.
Question. Then number two, he said the question is, can you ask him if Mazen Nnamdi Kanu got released today? Will he hand over to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu? So respond to these two questions.
What are we handing over? Mazen Nnamdi Kanu remained the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. So what are we handing over? We're handing over the freedom to him. We're handing over the struggle to him. We are fighting for the liberation of Biafra. So if he come and we continue where we stop.
Okay, so you will remain because as it is right now, you are assuming the position of leadership. So when Nnamdi Kanu comes out, are you still going to be the leader?
He is my leader as of today. When he come out and make his position known that he's still in Biafra, we continue from where we stop. Is anybody dragging that? And people do not actually understand what is prime minister. Is prime minister the head of a nation? Okay. These are people who claim to be educated. They claim that some of them are commenting from abroad, probably. Is prime minister the head of a nation?
Prime minister is the governmental head of a nation.
Where are you?
Okay. Because I thought I'm coordinated. Ada and Simon, I thought I'm coordinated. Can I go transfer the mic around so that I can address questions? Chief Doctor Ogwego, ask your question. Then we'll go to Ngene and as Chief Quello. Dr. Ogwego, ask your question.
Chief, please, Chief, I didn't clear because
please, Chief. Look, you see, it is either you want to use this your platform to educate people or not. Somebody made a comment here that Prime Minister is the head of a country. It's like people don't actually understand this, and you allow it to go by.
No.
We need to educate them. We need to educate her.
I actually muted her because you guys are having back and forth, and that's something I don't want to
now because you made that comment and everybody heard it. So I want to tell her that Prime Minister is not the head of a country. That is number one, and she can go and make a research and Google what the role of the Prime Minister in the government is.
Head of a country.
Sorry.
A prime minister is the head of government. Not all of us are dumb. Not all of us are dumb. A prime minister is the head of government.
I'm a head of government. I'm a government head.
Now we have all heard what transpired. Now, before I go into explaining in details what or who a prime minister is and who a president or a monarch or a king or a queen, a monarch, who such person is, I would like you to understand that in everything or in any explanation or in anything, there is a context to it. There is always a context to which you use certain things. And in this context, I want to establish the context in this argument. Now, what is the context? The context is that somebody asked and said that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, you have assumed, Simon Ekpa, you have assumed the position of leadership, and Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is there as your leader. If Mazen Nnamdi Kanu comes out today, are you going to abdicate your position? Are you going to relinquish that position to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and stay below him? And Mazi Simon Ekpa responded to him saying that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu remains his leader up till now. that if Nnamdi Kanu comes out and still remains on the stand that he's fighting for Biafra, they will continue from where they stopped. And he went further to say that people do not understand who a prime minister is, because they think that a prime minister is the head, whereas Simon Ekpa is telling them that a prime minister is not the head of a country or the head of a nation. A head of a nation is a president, or in a monarchy system is that monarch, say a king or a queen. That is what a prime minister is, and that is who a president or a monarch is in a country. Now, in this context, they are trying to say that Mazi Simon Ekpa has assumed the position as a prime minister, and as such, that prime minister represents the leader or the head of a nation. And Mazi Simon Ekpa is trying to tell them that no, the leader of a nation is the president, or in a monarchy system, the king or the queen. Then the prime minister works under the president or the king or queen. And in this context, they are trying to compare Mazi Kanu and Simon Ekpa in the context of prime minister and a leader. And he's clearly explaining to them and telling them that no, his position as a prime minister does not mean that he is the head of that nation, Biafra. That as of today, Mazi Kanu still remains his leader, and once he comes out and still proclaims that he is in support of Biafra liberation or Biafra restoration, that he is going to still remain as the leader that he is, while Simon Ekpa remains the prime minister. Now, before I go further, let me give you the meaning or definition of a prime minister from Wikipedia. Let us go there. Now, this is the definition of a prime minister. It said a prime minister or chief of cabinet. You can either call this person a chief of cabinet or a prime minister, that this person is the head of the cabinet and the leader of the ministers in the executive branch of government, often in a parliamentary or semi-presidential system. Under those systems, a prime minister is not the head of a state, but rather the head of government, serving as the principal administrator under either a monarch in a monarchy system or a president in a republican form of government. So what this thing is explaining is that a prime minister is the head of cabinet. He oversees the affairs of ministers in a country and can also be said to be the head of government. But it went further to explain that a prime minister works under a monarch in a monarchy system or under a president in a republican form of government. And as such, the prime minister takes order from the president or the monarch in a monarchy system. If it is a republican form of government, the prime minister will take orders from the president. And if it's a monarchy system, the prime minister will take orders from the monarch, just as is obtainable in the UK. Rishi Sunak will take orders from King Charles. Rishi Sunak is not the head of that nation. The head of that nation is King Charles. And this is exactly what Simon Ekpa is trying to let them know, that in this context, bringing it to this context, that he is not the head of that nation, that he has a leader, and that his leader is Mazi Kanu, which in this scenario, Mazi Kanu stands in as the president, whereas he stands in as the prime minister. Or if it is a monarchy system, Mazi Kanu will stand in as the monarch, whereas he will stand in as the prime minister, taking orders from the monarch or the president. And that is why Mazi Simon Ekpa referred to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as his leader. And it has not changed, that he still remains his leader. But he's not going to take orders from somebody who is in captivity of the enemy, because the enemy is going to control him. So he is going to stand in that position as the prime minister, pending when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu comes out, and then continues in his position as the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, whereas Simon remains the prime minister. And as such, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the president in the republican system, or a monarch in the monarchy system, whereas Simon Ekpa will be working under him as the prime minister. This is exactly the position of Mazi Simon Ekpa, and this is what he was explaining. But these people do not know. These people claim that the prime minister is the head of a nation, is the head of government. They were shouting on top of the people in their ignorance, displaying their ignorance on the public space. And these are people who claim to be intelligent. These are people who claim to be informed. These are people who claim to be, educated. They come on public space and disgrace themselves. My people, a prime minister is not the head of a nation. The prime minister is just the head of the cabinet. He controls the ministers and everything. And the prime minister remains under the president in a republican system and under the monarch in a monarchy system. So when you are under somebody, it means you are taking directions or directives from that person. And as such, whoever stands in as a leader or the president or the monarch in whichever system it is gives order to the prime minister. Thank you, Biafrans, for listening. Thank you for allowing me enlighten you more on this topic. And do not allow anybody deceive you or tell you otherwise. Thank you for listening.